Hello and welcome to another episode of the TechConnect podcast. I'm your host Tauhida Ali, and today we'll be exploring on smart glasses technology in Africa, a technology that is rapidly moving from science fiction into everyday life, from capturing photos and videos to providing real-time information through AI. These devices are changing the way we interact with the world. But as innovation advances, so do concerns around privacy, surveillance, and data protections. Are we ready for a future where wearable AI is already within insight? I'll let my guest introduce himself as we proceed.
Thank you, Ali. My name is Allan Juma. I'm the lead Cybersecurity Engineer at ESET East and Southern Africa.
You're welcome, Allan Juma.
Thank you.
So to start off, as you said, the smart glasses technology is no longer science fiction. So how fast is this technology entering everyday life globally and in Africa?
I would say the adoption of this particular technology is not as fast as it's not really fast, and this is the reason because they're a bit of a niche product. They're a bit expensive, so it's only for a certain category of the population. However, we have seen instances whereby, of course, Kenya, we are technologically advanced, and the people who have the financial muscle to actually get these particular glasses. Unofficially, they're available in Kenya, but officially, Meta, Google, and other providers of smart glasses do not support Africa as of yet, rather some parts of Africa. So the adoption is not as fast as we would think. But a word of caution, because I remember 15-20 years ago, smartphones were almost nothing. I mean, they were not heard of. They were also a niche product. But now, fast forward, right now, it's part and parcel.
So quickly.
Exactly, it's part of our everyday life. So we'll expect it to also be embedded in our everyday life.
So, and why has East Africa suddenly become part of the global conversation around smart glasses and privacy?
Well, primarily because of an issue with an organization called Meta. I'm sure majority of your viewers know what Meta is. Facebook, IG, the guys who own it. So it's big tech. They had a contract with an organization in Kenya called SAMA. So for any social media content, there has to be moderation. So there has to be a human in the loop where they look at the content and see whether it adheres to the particular organization's legal frameworks, ethical frameworks, all that thing, just checks and balances. So these moderators are human beings, and of course they're humans, not AI. And even if it's AI, there has to be a human in the loop. So why we are on the map is because some of these people who are moderators in SAMA, they were exposed to some content that was a bit disturbing. I mean, because of course with smart glasses, you can record everything almost non-stop. Yeah. So they recorded, the people who are recording, who had those glasses, recorded some, interesting moments. People are saying they had access to intimate videos of people, things that only you should see, or sensitive stuff. And they were going through emotional, psychological strain. And there was a lot of cry about, workplace, balance, all those things, psychological trauma, whatnot. So when Meta heard about this, that there was a complaint from Kenya, what they did is they rescinded the contract that they had with Meta for moderation. They say that you have not met our standards, so that's why we are rescinding the contract or canceling the contract. And Meta and some actually said, no, you are doing this because somebody spoke out about the work, the workplace, stress that they're going through. So that's why now we're on the global map. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is, I believe, late last year, if not early this year, there was an individual from Russia who visited Kenya, and he had smart glasses, and he had a number of intimate moments with a number of ladies in this country. And he also went to Ghana, had a number of encounters with some ladies there, and he was recording all these encounters unbeknown to these ladies. And what he did is he went back to his home country, he uploaded them to his site in the view of monetization, and he actually did make some money. And as a result of him uploading it and making it public, that's why now there's a lot of hue and cry, especially from Kenya, human rights crusaders, activists in Kenya and Ghana. The government actually did release statements in these particular countries, so that's why now there's a bit of buzz about smart glasses.
Speaking about that incident that happened some months ago, what does this incident reveal about gaps in privacy protection in our country?
It reveals some serious gaps. The first of all would be, yes, we have the Kenya Data Protection Act that places a lot of responsibilities on the data collectors and the data processors to make sure that the subjects of which they're collecting the data are fully aware that their data is being used, and they need to seek their consent for them to use their data. But in this particular case, with smart glasses, I can, like you are wearing glasses right now, and to the untrained eye, you will just be wearing maybe normal glasses. So So I would not know whether you're recording me and not. So that's the issue of privacy, the consent. And also in this particular case, whereby an individual is able to record intimate moments, upload them to a website, and exposing them to the entire world. Without these people, some of them will never know that their images are out there.
That's so true.
Yeah, so that's now where the issue comes in with privacy.
And for listeners unfamiliar with the technology, what exactly can modern AI-powered smart glasses do today? Because the conversation around smart glasses is usually just recording, but I believe there is something deeper than that.
Well, it is useful technology. In a case whereby you're a doctor in a remote area and you need to do maybe some surgical procedure or anything like that, diagnose, these glasses can actually help, transmit live feed to another expert in another country. So it helps in that way. The other area it can help is for visually impaired individuals. Everything can be transcribed in real time, what you're seeing. So these glasses will be able to describe to you what you're seeing. So it makes life a little bit better. And also for the cinematic view, whereby it captures in first person and some nice cinematic view. So there are some good uses. The other way would be in terms of maybe investigations, whereby you need to record some things and maybe link up with your colleagues, something like that. So it can help. There are good uses, but unfortunately human beings always push the boundaries, and even the good users can end up being malicious, whether intentionally or not intentionally.
Yeah, we say sometimes things they bring more harm than good.
Yeah. In this case, it will bring both. The danger would be if it's taken advantage of or used in a manner that is intendedly for malicious use, like the example I gave you about the Russian guy in Kenya.
Yeah. And are African regulators and policymakers moving fast enough to keep up with this technology? Because you can see some African countries still lag in the technological advancement, while others are moving forward at a pace.
I would say it's not only Africa, even the world. As far as wearables, smart glasses are concerned, there isn't any robust legislation or policy. The one that comes closest is the EU, European Union AI Act, which even in that particular instance is not as robust as you'd expect it to be. And the reason behind this is because technology always outpaces legislation. I mean, Kenya's just last year is when the AI policy was drafted. The artificial intelligence policy was launched by the Minister for ICT. It was launched last year. Some other countries in Kenya, even in Africa, do not even have basic data protection. Yes, there is a lot of awareness, but legislation is not as robust. As I said earlier on, we have our Data Protection Act. It still is good, but it has not, envisioned a situation whereby you'll have smart devices or wearables that now need to pushing the legislation even further.
Yeah. And what are the biggest risks for ordinary citizens if smart glasses become mainstream in East Africa? And could these devices make public spaces feel less anonymous or less safe? Because definitely I won't be walking around the town seeing people, someone is recording me, I'm unaware of it, and then I just find myself viral or just trending somewhere.
The first part of the question, please repeat it.
What are the biggest risks for ordinary citizens?
Okay. So the biggest risk, like you said, I mean, you'll be recorded. Your image, your likeness will be used for whatever purpose. You'll be trending and you don't know why you're trending. There was a sad case I saw, a feature on YouTube from BBC, whereby this lady artist had released some photos. She's an artist, so she went to the studio, released some photos of her, and people got her images, her face, and altered them and put them in adult film content, and this was released to the masses. So she was in class and people were busy saying, hey, I see you're online, I see this is what you do, this is your side gig. So she didn't know. So there is that danger because your image is taken without your consent and can be used for whatever purposes. Now in this particular case, what law will you use to try and get these people? Should we be worried? At the moment, not yet, because like I said earlier on, smart glasses are still a niche product. They're a bit, if you just do a quick Google search, they're around maybe 80 to 90 Gs, and that's even unofficially supported. So it's still out of the reach for majority of the people. However, for those who are privileged enough to have these glasses, if they decide to go on a rampage and do something that is nefarious, then definitely there's something to worry about, because now, we have the vulnerable in society, our women, our children. If somebody goes to a girls' school and starts recording moments, or goes to a boys' school, or, for whatever so it can be used. There is cause for concern, but not immediate cause for concern.
And should people have the legal right to know when the smart glasses are recording them?
I would say yes. Yeah, definitely. If you're recording me, then I should have the right to know why you are recording me. The difference between a smartphone or a camera or a recording device and smart glasses is there is the signal of intent. When I take up my phone and I hold it up next to you, you'll know I'm taking a photo, or I'm taking a video, or I'm doing something. So there's a signal of intent. Now with smart glasses, that intent is not there because it's almost anonymous. So people need to have the right to actually know whether they've been recorded. I mean, the ODPP, Office of the Data Protection, has done a lot of public awareness, especially as far as our rights are concerned. How do you use my image? How do you use my information? Especially in public spaces. If I go to an entertainment joint and the proprietors are busy taking photos of me for their marketing, then I should be rightfully compensated if they use my image for monetization, or at least they should give me the right to say, do you want your image to be used?
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
And we've seen like cybercrime and stalking has been going on for a while. So will smart glasses create a new form of this thing of stalking, identity theft, or digital harassment?
Yes, definitely. There was an example, or rather research that was done by some students in Harvard. So using some smart glasses. So what they did is they got smart glasses and they wore them, recording, taking photos, and they were live streaming on IG. And they also had come up with an AI tool, an LLM, large language model, that they had developed to link this live feed to image searches of the photos they were taking. So, like for example, Ali, you're wearing glasses, you're live streaming, and the people in the back end who have connected the two. So now they are taking those images and doing live image searches to know who this individual is. So they were able to find a lot of personal information from the photos that were taken, from the videos that were taken. They were able to identify, this is your full name, this is where you went to school, these are your parents, this is your home country, this is what you like, this is what you do not like. Now that is just to show the extent of this particular technology. Now imagine somebody who does that, has the technological skill, has the intent, and has the financial muscle to actually put together an operation for negative use. Then it will be havoc, it will be mayhem, especially in a country like ours, whereby there's a lot of lack of information as far as rights are concerned, and as far as digital surveillance is concerned.
Yeah, and sometimes people will just take your photos, especially if people are not more aware about the technology. Someone will take a photo, like, I'm just using it for my socials, but you don't know what's going to happen deeper than that.
Yeah.
So tech companies argue that these devices improve accessibility and convenience. Are the benefits worth the risks?
I think that's a catch-22 scenario. It's a 50-50 scenario. There are benefits, definitely, like capturing those moments with your children, with your loved ones. The cinematic view. Being able to connect for the people who are maybe visually impaired. It does help. But the question now the big tech should ask themselves, or rather the question we should be demanding of them, is yes, you have made this technology for the good of the people. Yes, you have done that, but what measures are you putting in place to make sure that it is not misused? Because they will say, okay, fine, if people misuse it, it's upon them. But then again, that's not, if you give us that technology, there should be guardrails, there should be measures to make sure that if it is abused or misused, especially since the data is being processed on your platform, using your tools, then you should have the mechanism to at least rein it in. And this should be in collaboration with both the countries that are privileged to be part of the list, part of the countries where this technology is available on.
And where should the line be drawn between innovation and surveillance? Because at the end of the day, we love tech, but we also need to be aware of it and everything. Let
me answer your question with a question. Do you think there is privacy in this day and age?
There isn't.
Why do you say that?
Because right now, it's we are aware of the technology, but also sometimes someone is not much familiar with it. So sometimes it ends up like going against the human rights privacy.
Privacy, it's a right. You have a right to privacy.
Yeah.
The Premier Most Data Protection Act, that is the GDPR, says that people have the right to be forgotten. People have the right to know why you're collecting their data. So technology, should be held accountable. But now the challenge is this. This technology is intended for good use.
Yeah.
At what point will we say now it is being used for nefarious purposes? That's where now we need to be very, very, very keen. Again, recently there was a short clip by Al Jazeera that was talking about digital surveillance in Kenya. I don't know whether you saw it.
No.
So it all came about from the June 2024 protests, whereby there's a gentleman who lost his life called Rex. So after that, there was an inquest, commission of inquiry. So basically, they were trying to find out who actually killed him. It's still in court, actually. So as part of the deposition, a police officer was asked, "How did you obtain?" No, actually, sorry, I'm confusing. It's not that one. Sorry, it's not that one. It's the guy who posted a photo of our president in a casket. Remember that story?
Yeah, I remember it.
So when the cops were asked, how did you find where this guy was? So they say that they went to a leading telco in this in this country, and they got the information, their location, they're able to pick him up. Now, the question is, yes, you can do that in cases whereby there is terrorism, where there is crime, exactly, crime. But where do you draw the line and say this is legal and this is not legal? This is for the benefit of the masses. This is not for the benefit
that's so true.
of the masses. Are we mature enough as a society? Are our security agencies mature enough to say, okay, fine, this is now for victimization, but this is for the good of the country?
And what responsibility should companies like Meta carry when their products are being misused?
I think they should have the right to let the authorities know that these individuals are misusing our data, our software, our products. But then again, the question on privacy. Even the people who are doing these particular things in maybe breaking the law, they also have a right to privacy. So there should be some measures that are put in place, especially by big tech themselves, to police themselves. But history has shown us that they are incapable of policing themselves. There have been a number of what we call class action suits against the big tech, and majority of them actually end up being settled out of court. It doesn't go to full prosecution. I remember 2-3 years ago, there was a huge lawsuit against Google, whereby they, the incognito mode on their browser. So the idea behind it is when you go incognito, you're not being tracked. Basically, we can't use your search history to monetize your searches and push ads. Fine, the ISP can see what you're doing, but it won't be used to target you for monetary purposes. However, it was found out that even when you are still in incognito mode, Google had a way of actually knowing which sites you are visiting, and they were using that information to sell to marketers and to sell to individuals to target you with ads. Now, that was a huge deal because they were misleading their users. But was it eventually taken to full? Did it go to court like they were told to pay out huge fines or anything like that? No. What they did, they settled with the guys who had actually taken them to court. So it's a bit of a challenge to actually police big tech. It's very big, and that's why I'm saying legislation needs to always be a step ahead of technological advances.
Yeah. And should AI companies be transparent about how footage from smart glasses is stored, reviewed, or used to train algorithms?
I think there is a need for them to actually tell their users how they are using their particular footage, if it's being used to train AI models, how long it is being stored for, where it is being stored, and who is interacting with that particular data. And majority of the data protection acts actually stipulate what needs to be done. There's again, GDPR does that. There's the purpose limitation as far as data collection is concerned. Why are you collecting my data? How long long will it be used for? Do you give me an opportunity or an avenue where if I say delete my data, do I have the right to be forgotten? So I would say yes, AI companies need to actually be held accountable and tell the people this is what you're using your image, your photos for, and if you want us to use your image for training AI models, then let us know. And if possible, then if I can benefit from my image being used to train AI models, then I think that would be good.
This actually reminds me of my AI, I think ChatGPT. I used to use it back at school. Mm-hmm. So now when there is a time I tried to ask it some question, and they based on you as a journalism student, it was like it actually knows I'm a student, though I didn't even tell it like I was a student. And it's because I think of the information that usually feed AI.
Yeah, it's the information you feed AI, plus, I mean, the world is interconnected. The world is so interconnected, it's almost scary.
And are we heading to a world where the public privacy no longer exists?
I would say the lines will be very, very, very blurred. Very blurred as to what constitutes privacy and when that privacy can be breached or taken away. Very, very blurred. Yeah.
And as we almost finish, what practical steps can citizens take today to protect themselves in a world where always on wearable cameras?
As somebody who does not have smart glasses, how can I protect myself? Yeah. I think the only way you can protect yourself, number one, is public participation. When these laws are being drafted, I should go and give my voice. Number two would be if I noticed, if I notice something is a bit off with somebody's glasses, I should have the right to go and tell them, okay, fine, I'm not comfortable being recorded. But then again, that's also very difficult for you also to detect whether you're being recorded. I would say the onus should not be on the masses to protect themselves. The onus should be on the big tech and government to protect their masses.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And what makes smart glasses fundamentally different from smartphones when it comes to surveillance?
The intent. When I take up my phone, I hold it up, I'm recording. Any other recording device, I'm recording. But with smart glasses, it's almost unrecognizable. But a very tiny white LED light, you wouldn't know that I'm recording. You wouldn't know that I'm wearing, smart glasses as opposed to normal prescription glasses. So that's the major challenge, whereby you don't even have the opportunity to give your consent or withdraw your consent. So that's the biggest difference with smart glasses and other recording devices.
And if policy makers fail to act now, what are the long-term consequences for democracy, civil liberties, and personal freedom in Africa? Because even if the smart glasses technology isn't that wide in Africa, we still need rules around it.
Yeah, we need rules, but we are slightly disadvantaged in Africa because we have other problems to deal with. We are currently dealing with a viral disease. Is it viral? So we have other problems, and that's the headspace where majority of the Africans are. This is not my problem right now. This is a first world problem. This is a second world problem. We are still struggling to put food on the table. However, the policy makers, the government needs to be proactive and think ahead, because this technology will get to us. Furthermore, we are the biggest task force on the planet, the African continent. People are coming here because of cheap and affordable labor, and what basically they are saying is, we can use your labor, but don't raise your voice against workplace conditions. Don't raise your voice. Don't protest against harsh conditions or whatever you're exposed to. If the moment you do that, we will take away our business and take it somewhere else. So the government, I would say again, the government and big tech are the ones who need to actually protect us, because we are preoccupied with other things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Any conclusion remarks on this topic?
Well, we are not
listeners.
To the listeners, we're not scaremongering. It's just highlighting the issues that are there. And Waswahili wanasema ukiona cha mwenzako chanyolewa
cheko kitie maji.
Exactly. So since it's happening in other countries, it has happened in other countries, then definitely at hapa Kenya we will see an increase of such cases where people have been recorded. And I shudder to think what happens if minors are recorded and the images are put online.
And that brings us to the end of today's topic on smart glasses technology in Africa. And it's high time for regulators, innovators, and policymakers to work together to ensure that the information or the technology that reaches out to the public is well aware of it and knows how it works. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this episode. See you on the next episode.